So students, now we will be going through lecture number 6. In lecture number 5, we have discussed what are the definition of activity. That means what is activity, what is event, how they can be related to each other, and how to develop a CPM network. And what is the various methods, critical path method, as well as PERT, that is project evaluation and review technique. Now let us watch this lecture number 6. First of all, in the previous lecture we have discussed dummy activity. That means what is the role of dummy activity, what is a dummy activity. We have discussed that dummy activity is an activity which don't have any time duration as well as which don't require any resources. And dummy activity basically relates the two activities which are not dependent on each other, but they are interdependence. That means the completion of that activity may be directly not influencing the commencement of other activity, but still we have to check that whether the preceding activity is indirectly linked to the previous activity. And now we will be going through in details that what is actually dummy activity and what is its requirement in a network. Now, to prepare a network, to identify each activity separately and insert dummy activities wherever required. So that means when you are going to prepare a network, then first of all you have to identify each activity separately. That means each activity is a unique activity, and to continue the network we have to insert dummy activities. Dummy activity may be one activity or it may be number of activities. Now let us see this figure. In this figure you are seeing just a flow chart. It's not a network as per our requirement. First of all, we have to build a simple network in the type of flow chart. Now you can see here this activity, you can say activity number 1. If I make it number 1, then it is an activity that is building of a ball, that means construction of a ball. And then second activity is you have to fix some electrical conduits, electrical pipes we have to insert in a wall. Third activity will be completing the plumbing work, and fourth activity will be completing the joineries, whatever be the junctions, whatever be the joints we have to complete. And last activity is plastering of the wall. Now from this flow chart basically we have to prepare a network, and that network will be connecting the event and activities, and you have to clearly differentiate each activity as an individual activity, as a unique activity. Now first of all, you see here, first of all let us try to develop a network from this flow chart. So this will be the first activity which is connected by two events. You can say later on we will discuss event. Let us say these are the nodes. That means one activity as starting node, that means end node, that is you can say tail node as well as head node. So these are basically, these are the NODE node. So these circles are just indicating, or we will term them as a node. Now this is the first activity, that is building of the wall. Then this will be the second activity, fixing electrical conduits. Now we have separated from this flow chart. Here this flow chart is something different. Now we have, just to make it activity separately, that to show it as a unique activity, we have separated it out. Now it will be the another activity, which is fixing electrical conduits. Similarly, third activity we have to differentiate. Now this is completing the plumbing work. And similarly, there will be fourth activity, that is completing the joineries. Now you will see here, there are three different nodes you can see, and they are not connected to each other. And last activity is plastering of wall. So completing the plumbing, plastering of wall, but plastering of wall can start when fixing of electrical conduits have been completed. So to complete this network, we will be using dummy activity. Now this will be dummy activity number 1. In actual, this activity don't require any resource as well as don't require any time duration. Similarly, there will be another activity, that is dummy activity, and this dummy activity also don't require any time duration as well as any resource. No labor is required, because you have fixed the electric conduits, then you have to go for the plastering. You have completed the plumbing, you have to go for the plastering. Now plastering the wall will only happen when this activity has been completed. Now these three activity, when they are individually they are completed, then you can start the plastering of wall. So we have to insert here dummy activity to complete the network. So I hope you are able to understand what is the meaning of dummy activity, what is the significance of dummy activity, and how we have to insert the dummy activity so that we can complete the network. Now, whenever you have to develop a network where number of activities you have to join, there is maybe a bigger project, then networking is some rules you need to be keep in mind. So we have developed some rules which are very helpful in just preparing a network. So we will go through all the rules one by one. So following rules can be kept in mind while preparing a network of activities. Even you can develop your own rules, but thing is that we have to ultimately get it. The network should be very clear and efficient. Now first rule we can keep in mind, a network will have only one initial node and have only outgoing arrows. So it is very much clear. So whatever be the starting node when a project will be started, then it will have only one initial node. There may be any project, but initial node will be only one, and initial node will have only outgoing arrows, not incoming arrows. Second, network can have only one final node and it will have only incoming arrows. So that means initial there will be only one node, as well as at the final stage there will be only one node, and initial node only outgoing arrow will be there, and in final node there will be only incoming arrow will be there. Third point, no activity can start until its tail event has occurred. So we have gone through, suppose this is one activity, then this will be the tail event and this will be the head event. So this activity can only start when this event has occurred. So if this event has occurred, then we can start this activity. An event cannot occur until all activity leading to it are completed. Suppose this is an event This event will only be set to complete when, say, number of activities which are coming into this node are completed. Now here, suppose there are three activities which are joined at this node. Then if two activities have completed and one activity is still incomplete, that is incomplete, then you can't say that this event has occurred. So an event cannot occur until all the activity leading to it are completed. Fifth point, an event cannot occur twice. That means if there is one event that cannot occur twice, so that means in the network there should not be any loop, any path which is looping back to the previous occurring event. So this is not possible, you have to keep in mind. Sixth point is there must not be any dead or left event without final event. Now this one is the dead event. If this is the final event, then it's okay. But if in between you find, suppose this is another activity and you find that this event has occurred and after that no outgoing arrow is from this event, so then it indicates that this event is a final event. But we know in this network this is the final event, so there should not be any other final event. And if there is such type of network, then every activity is completed. Network should be prepared such that every activity is completed to reach the end objective. All constraints and interdependency. Now this is one of the constraint. That means here this activity has been completed and this event has occurred. Now what we have to do, we have to insert here dummy activity, that is a dotted line, dotted arrow line we will show. So dummy activity will be shown. So this is the importance of the dummy activity. So eighth point is all constraint and interdependency should be shown by using appropriate dummies. Ninth point is activity arrow must not cross each other. So if there are number of activities, so if this is one activity and other activity, then this should not be acceptable. Yes, bridging can be adopted. That means if this is one activity and this is another activity, you can just put a bridge type of shape. That means you are bridging the activity. So it means these two activities are not crossing each other, but they are occurring. And 10th point, which is also very important, use preferably Fulkerson rule for numbering of events. So that means when you have to number the events 1, 2, 3 and so on, then you have to go through the guidelines mentioned by Fulkerson. So it is known as Fulkerson rule for numbering the events. Now let us go through this very simple rule of numbering of events, that is known as Fulkerson rule. So following point you have to keep in mind. Very first point is initial event. What is initial event? There is only one initial event in a network having arrows coming out and it should be numbered as event number 1. So very simple. Whatever be the initial event which is having only outgoing arrows, that should be numbered as 1. Now what we have to do? Now suppose there are this type of, suppose there is a network and number of other events are there. Now we have numbered it as 1. Now Fulkerson rules say that you have to neglect all arrows. Now these arrows you can neglect, and when you neglect these arrows, then these other events will be just like these. That means they don't have any arrow, incoming arrow. When you have ignored these arrows, then it will be considered that there is no incoming arrow in these events. Now you can consider that these events are just as initial events. So neglecting all arrows emerging out of initial event which we have numbered 1, Now more number of new initial event will be there. Now we have came across three number of new events. Ultimately, these are not the initial event, but they can be treated as new initial events. Now what we have to do? You have to number these new initial events 2, 3, 4 as whatever be the network available. After that, again we have to follow the same step number 2. That means after numbering them 2, 3, 4, whatever be the arrows coming out of these events and joining some other event, they will be ignored. And accordingly, we have to number the remaining new events 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever be the condition. And we have to continue in the same manner. That means we have to repeat step number 3, step number 4 again and again when no emerging arrows is available. Now, when you do all these processes repeatedly, then at last you will find an event which has no outgoing arrow, only incoming arrows. So it will be the last event or it will be the final event. Now for you, there is a very simple problem, that is a practice problem where you can use Fulkerson rule for numbering. So this is a practical problem for all of you. Now this network is given. Here you have to use the Fulkerson rule and accordingly give the number to each event. So these events can be numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that, and that is you can easily understand how the Fulkerson rule is applicable in numbering the events. And you should just note down this thing. You need to have watching this description of the video where you will find later on more number of practice problem, and the description in the video will be mentioned and you will be finding number of practice problem. So thank you.